Hi everyone, welcome back to Photomode UNPLUGGED. We are your hosts, Ruben and Mick. Hi.
Hello. Good evening to you. I've just noticed, by the way, I just realised that we've done this all the time over the winter. Now, we deliberately did it at night so that it was dark, but it's getting to the point now, it's not quite as dark.
Yeah.
It might end up affecting my lighting at some point, but it's still okay. But
I have a nice blackout right here,
Right.
but every time that I'm like shutting this down, I think about that. Like,
yeah, it's not.
it's
getting
crazy
dark.
that we are filming this during the day. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So interesting week again. Well, a little bit of an interesting week.
Yeah,
couple of
we
news.
had a few days ago. By the time this
Yes.
video goes live,
Yeah.
people are still are already experiencing it. But the confirmation of a photo mode at launch for Jedi Survivor.
Yes, indeed. So we're a little bit pondering, worried even, whether that might be like, because Fallen Order got it like 3 weeks after launch.
Oh, I think it was more.
No, it
Three?
wasn't, because I just wrote about it recently.
Okay.
And yeah, similar to God of War actually. And then obviously this one, been no mention of it, so there's a possibility it could come later. But yeah, they've announced it at launch. Not really showing anything of it yet. I've not seen it yet. So, well, by now I will have done, because it was out yesterday.
By now, I already have 100 photos of it.
Wow, good.
Yeah.
Any nice ones?
No. You know the answer to that question.
But we're going to do it next week, I think. That's the plan. We'll
Yeah.
cover some of that next week, so look out for that one.
But from the photos that we've seen right before we started recording, we were like closely analyzing, and it seems like to be the same photo mode or pretty much the same.
It's hard to say.
So-
the basics of it seem...
Yeah,
The images look like the stuff you would have created with the old one, shall we say that?
exactly. A bit of God of War Ragnarok syndrome. But there is another great announcement this week that it's more to your taste. There is
You're just saying that because
newscapes.
it's Gran Turismo, yeah.
Yeah, newscapes added to the Gran Turismo.
So Gran Turismo is getting yet another update, and they do keep on putting scapes locations in each update, which is really good. Like the posts are all about the cars, really. You know, they've added 4 new cars. XJ220, by the way. I love the XJ220, and I've always said, and no one else gets it, but the end of the DualSense controller is reminiscent of the back end of a Jaguar XJ220. I'll prove that to you at some point. You've no
Good
idea
to
what
know.
I'm talking about.
No idea. Like
But-
today, I saw a video of John Cena talking about he drives on the Civic Type R,
Yep.
and I was like, this is probably the only car that I've like know of.
That you
like,
recognize.
yeah,
Oh my God.
probably the only one.
You know, I mean, there's other people who can do this podcast, you know.
And there are a lot of car virtual photographers that
Yeah.
wish they were on this podcast.
Well, Mir is into his cars, and I feel that there's a bit more of a rapport there.
Yeah, but then you have like a bad precedent with Mir and this podcast, so
That is true.
the lost files.
Yeah, it's a moment of history. Anyway, the relevant thing to the Photomode Unplugged is, yes, even more escapes locations. So I don't actually know the current number, but it's more than 2,500. One of the locations in Japan, the other one's in North Yorkshire. I think it's North Yorkshire. It's Yorkshire anyway, which is not far from me. Well, it's the next county from me.
That's cool.
It is cool.
I have a shot of from all the cars in Gran Turismo, one that stands out as being one that Portuguese people drive a lot is the Mini Cooper.
Okay.
And there is a escape that is like less than 1 kilometer from my home.
All right.
Yeah. So I set up a Mini Cooper right in front of that spot,
Yeah.
and it looks real. Like,
Yeah.
I've been to that place, I've seen cars parked there,
Yeah.
and I was like, how is this mode so good?
You should recreate the one in reality as well. Go and put a car there.
Yeah,
The only
I will
escapes
buy a Mini
location,
Cooper, drive
especially
down,
for it. Yes, do that.
just to see.
With all of our abundant sponsorship. Like and subscribe. Yeah, the only escapes location that I've actually been to would be the one in New York at the side of Brooklyn Bridge. You should have been there.
I know.
Anyway, shall we move
I
on
say
to the
that
main?
every night to myself.
Yeah, is it
before
last thing
going
when
to
you go to
sleep.
bed?
To the mirror, I should have been there.
Well, there you go. A bit of self-motivation for next time.
It wasn't my fault that I wasn't there. I wasn't allowed to be there.
Okay.
Even if I don't know if I won, if I participated, because I wasn't allowed to even participate.
No.
So
Yeah, well, your country wasn't. Not specifically just you.
yeah,
Was it?
Ruben, you're banned for life.
Yeah, that was in the rules. No, Ruben. So something that maybe is closer to your line of interest this week. Or it's not this week, actually. It happened earlier, but we've come across the details more this week. Because famously, I think, you work for Twitter, don't you, now?
No.
No?
Bit of a coincidence. I'm actually wearing
Eh,
a Patreon t-shirt. Like, I was trying to hide as to not, like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I work at Patreon, not Twitter.
Oh, that's a shame. Because
I wish I were.
rumor has it that, you know.
I think I would have been slightly more paid if I worked for Twitter than I am at Patreon.
You'd
I
have been
don't
sacked
know.
by now, like the rest of them.
Yeah.
But what has happened about Twitter is that they've made their algorithm open source, or at least some of their algorithm, specifically the algorithm around the For You selection of posts.
Yeah.
So now everybody knows how it works, right?
Not quite, because it's hard to. It's really hard to read an algorithm and understand it. But some more capable people have broke it down in a way that people like us can understand.
Well, you say that. So the day I sent it you, I had spent that day making a case as to why or why not polyvinyl alcohol would or would not persist in the carbothermic reduction stage during the fabrication of uranium oxycarbide fuel kernels. So this was a bit of light reading.
I'm always surprised by how
boring my job is.
yeah, not boring, but how I don't even have a word, like complicated your job is. Like, it's like,
I'll tell you what it is.
I have
It's
this
far
thing where
removed
I
from
say to people that, oh, this is easy. This is not nuclear science. I do say that very often.
Yeah.
You literally
I
do
literally
the
do
thing.
that.
You literally do the thing that I say. It's hard to do. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll put a link in the description of because there's a Twitter official blog post that sort of tells you what they're going to tell you about, and then there's one, I can't remember what the website was. Let me just have a look. It was called tweethunter.io, which is another Twitter focused blog, but they've done a really nice sort of breakdown of it all. So we'll have a look at it, and see if we can make some sense of what you should
Let's
or
go
shouldn't
viral. Let's use it to go viral. No.
Yeah, that's unlikely. I mean, you can at least sort of see the reasons why things do and do not work, though. Yeah. And some of my long-standing suspicions are very much confirmed.
So, from what I understood, this was publicly posted by Elon Musk. He decided to
I guess.
release it.
Yeah. So they put a dump of some of the code on GitHub. So you can look through the whole code on GitHub in various sort of chunks, which I haven't done.
I've seen screenshots of it, but
I was interested in the highlights more than I was the entire thing. But even just from Twitter's own blog posts, you can get a basic understanding of their system. So it's broken down into these three things.
But do you think it was a good decision
to make it open source?
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, me too. I think it shows like one of the things that he has been promising since before about like the transparency. Like it was a nice decision. Yeah. He's basically my boss, so I have to.
Now that you work at Twitter, obviously, and always have done. The things it doesn't tell you about is like promoted tweets and any of that stuff, the ad serving and stuff. This is really just on the For You thing. But the system is based on, so the first step is it's called candidate sourcing. So now you've got to understand like the reason why they have to filter things, because there's so much content out there. It's obvious, right? You know.
Yeah, I remember reading like they choose over the algorithm chooses over. They put like millions of tweets every minute, and it's like, whoa.
It's like, I think I saw it. It's something like 500 million it analyzes every time, and it comes up with 1,500 potential candidates. And they're split between in-network and out-of-network, they're called. So in-network was people you follow, and out-of-network is sort of secondary attachments. So either friends of friends, that type of thing, or just similar topics, I guess. And then they're all ranked, and this is what we'll go into next. So this is where the really interesting stuff comes in, because your tweet is essentially given a score, a plus or a minus score, based on lots of different factors. And that website, check it out after this, gives you like that table of all of the scoring. Yeah, that table
is super helpful for people like myself that like had trouble reading the text. That table really puts things in perspective.
And even then, though, there's some sort of subtleties to it, and you think, you can apply it to scenarios and think, oh, so this would be better than that, or it's detrimental to such a thing. Okay, so that's phase 2 is the ranking, and then phase 3 is heuristics. I don't know if that word means much to you.
I have no idea.
It basically just means like best guess. I don't know how it translates to you, is what I mean, you know. But yeah, it's just like essentially imagine it like you're ordering food for someone in a restaurant. They're not there, but you've got to look at the menu and think, well, they usually get the soup and the steak, so I'll go with that, you know.
But leaving it to that is a bit scary. Like, I don't know.
It's just
like, I think the number of in-network should be much higher.
Yeah,
much
50-50,
higher.
Yeah.
50-50 is such a, like, I chose to follow these people. I chose to see their content. Okay, maybe some of the people that I follow don't post enough that my For You page is always populated. And obviously Twitter wants me to follow new people and see new content. But, like, I chose to follow those people. I told Twitter, I want to see more of these people. So being it 50-50 seems a bit unfair.
I agree. I mean, there's 2 tabs, isn't there? There's the For You, which is the 50-50 one, and following. But to be honest, these seem pretty similar to me. I don't.
And it's pretty new. That used to be hidden, basically. You had the option to see by date, so the most recent tweets would show up first.
Which is gone now, isn't it?
Yeah. Now it's basically the For You page. And then you had now For You page. The following. Sorry, I'm messing this up. I'm sorry, but it's like I don't agree with the way they are doing.
Yeah.
That's basically my point. It's like.
I mean, the two sides to it, though, is that being shown more of the out-of-network stuff, if it's relevant, which is what it tries to do, does help you discover more stuff instead of only seeing the same few people all the time. So I can see why it's there. But, yeah, a bit more of the people you follow. Because the other thing is you follow so many, and, like, I don't mean too many, but you follow a certain number and you only see a very small proportion of that.
And that's what and Instagram does the same. Like every social media does the same. And I wonder why.
Well, we know. We all know why now, because the algorithm is open source.
Yeah.
So it's because some numbers are involved.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to. But one quote I saw about Twitter, it sums up Twitter in general anyway, and in fact all other social medias, is that the job of the algorithm is to keep you engaging with that app for longer.
Yeah.
And that's 100% true. That explains a lot of the reasons behind some of the stuff we'll see in the table, because at the end of the day, the main revenue stream is from advertisement, and they want to serve you as many ads as possible. And as soon as you stop using the app or go and do something else, that opportunity's gone away. So absolutely, the algorithm is not aimed at giving us the best content. It's giving us the content that will keep you using the app for the longest. So maybe a lot of that is new stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Would you prefer an algorithm that was like, it'd be interesting to see how it worked if there was one entirely focused on stuff like the way you wanted it. I don't know how it would know. It couldn't really, could it? But it'd be interesting to see how your behavior changed. I mean,
like something that they announce is that people, the suggestion of people that you follow, that people you might be interested on, something like that, on the right side of Twitter, that is going to start to be only blue accounts.
Oh, the recommendations of who to follow. Right, okay.
And I think that's the way that I discovered most of the people that I follow, because they have that, the profile pic, the name, and the bio. And from the bio, I was like, okay, I'm interested in this person. Let's check their profile. Very rarely do I follow someone, and it might be a one case scenario, but like very rarely do I see like a set of photos that I'm like, oh, I will follow this person because of this set of photos. Like if they end up showing it on the side, I will read their bio, I will go to their profile, check it out, and then they will start to repeatedly appear. If they do, I will start follow. But I think that's the best way to like filter my now following tab. Like the For You, I rarely use it anymore.
Well, I mean, I suppose if you could rely on it to work, it you know, I'm not saying it does or doesn't work in any scenario, but if you can expect it to work, to serve you content from people you've not seen before that is relevant, then you should discover people like from seeing their pictures and sets like that. So in theory, it should be a positive element. Whether it does it or not is another matter, isn't it? But yeah, the ranking system. So this is quite interesting, I think.
It is.
So just to remind you, this is the second stage. So the first one is that sort of curation of candidate tweets. So everything's just been posted. You might like some of these. Then it ranks them and puts the ones that you're most likely to interact with at the top. So basically, they're more likely to be shown, and if they do get shown, they will appear higher up. And the ones that score lower will either not be shown or will be shown but lower down the scroll. So
I guess it makes sense. Like, if the algorithm wants me to spend more time in there, it's obviously that it's going to show me what I'm more likely to like first. But still, I didn't choose to see that content. I choose to see the content of people that I follow.
Yes, but by following them
yeah.
affects the ranking.
Yeah,
And
it does.
so does your interaction.
Yeah.
So now I was a little bit confused when I saw this, because if you go and look at that post, there's more than one table.
Yeah.
And the scoring is different in them, and it doesn't totally clearly say why that is. But as far as I can interpret it, there's one table for sort of the initial ranking, as in, does this, for the first time it's been posted, the new tweet, does it appear in your recommendations or not? And that seems to be based on, so it's appearing, let's say it appears in my list. It's based on how I've interacted with that type of content or that account previously. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, top of the list, the highest ranking multiplier is likes. I wasn't happy to see that.
What do you think should be the highest?
Well, okay. So at first, I was very confused by this, because you've got, in the rankings, you've got likes, it gives a 30 times multiplier. Then retweets is 20 times. And then replies was just 1 times boost. And I was like, wow. So that makes a reply the lowest sort of quality interaction, which I completely disagree with. I would most prefer to have a reply than a like, because there's more effort there.
And I think that word is why it's the least effort.
It maybe.
People don't want effort in their social media experience. I want to shut my brain off on my social media experience, and a like is very easy to give, so it's what happens the most.
Yeah.
So
you're probably bang on there, because so bear in mind that this is that sort of initial selection, and it's giving you, it thinks you are most likely to interact with these, and it wants you, like you've just said, to just scroll, and you become entranced a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a trend that if people spend longer on one tweet and reply to it, they kind of switch off from the feed then and go away afterwards. Maybe. So that could be, that's a really good explanation.
I can see myself, I can even picture myself doing this over the last few weeks. If I stop on a tweet, I reply to that tweet, I usually close the app and go do another thing. And if I'm just liking it, it's like minimal effort, minimal energy, minimal thought even.
But moral of the story is that each time you like something, that's making it 30 times more likely to appear for you the next time, because its ranking relative to your feed is going to have gone up. So if you don't want to see stuff, don't like it.
Don't like it.
Literally.
Shocker.
And but you could even reply to things and not like, and you would be less likely to see it
less
again.
likely to see
So I thought that was really interesting. It was the opposite of what I expected, but in the second table you'll see it's kind of reversed. But sticking with this one for now, so an interesting one in our context is that posts with an image or a video get a 2 times ranking boost. Do you agree? Do you find that?
Yeah, I guess, because
that was not convincing.
I know, because yes, but from someone that has studied social media at one point, images are more likely to grab your attention.
Yeah.
But if it's just like, a good example is your tweet asking for people's latest picture.
I'm going to do that again soon, actually.
That's more likely to get engagement.
Yeah.
So there are two different variables. Like one grabs your attention, the other grabs your engagement.
Yeah.
That's what I've been led to believe all these years of like studying
No, I
communication
think you're
and
right.
working
Yeah.
in social media. So I usually go for the attention one. I want people to stop and check my tweet. I don't care if it's more likely or not if they engage. That's one of the reasons why when I ask people for pictures, I always put one image below, because I want them to really stop and look at my picture and then engage with it if they feel like it. But yeah, it surprises me that in one way, but it doesn't in another. So it's weird. I have a weird relationship with this one.
Yeah, I think you're dead right that a call to action kind of is the wild card there. If you had just text saying, just stating a fact, just telling them what you're doing that day, that probably won't get very much, because you'd be like, oh, so what? But they can engage with the picture. Yeah, exactly. They can engage with the picture and, find different reasons to engage with the picture. But when your text only is a request for them to do something, then that takes over the interaction and it imbalances it. But yeah, I mean, that's a good thing that pictures get a boost, because we predominantly post pictures.
It's something that I would like to know, and it's not anywhere that I found, is how many pictures.
No, I've not seen anything about that.
Yeah.
If you look in the snippets of the code, it's just like image, URL, whatever, yes, then the outcome is 2 times.
I would
boost.
like to know, like, is it more likely, like, what gives you a bigger boost?
Yeah.
1 picture or 4 pictures? Is it 4 pictures basically quadruple the?
I don't think so. I think it's
get?
is there pictures or not?
Yeah.
The rest of it maybe comes down to the human element as to
Yeah.
what they actually see and what catches their eye. But yeah, the only other things that we can see so far that boost the ranking is Twitter Blue. So which it does. It's supposed to. That's what people are paying for. It was one of the things.
It's not working for most people that I know.
Because there is a counteraction.
Yeah.
Of people seeing the blue and deliberately not interacting with it or muting it, which is devastating to it. So by default, a Twitter Blue account gets a 4 times boost on in-network rankings, so for people that follow them, and a 2 times boost out of network. So reasonably good, And then on top of that, you've got account reputation, which I don't think was given a number, because it's going to depend. It's going to be a sliding scale based on the account rep. And then I guess the account rep is just calculated all the time based on positive and negative interactions.
Probably mutes.
Yep.
How many mutes do you have? How many blocks you have? How many reports did your account have? Even if your account wasn't banned or shadow banned, probably that affects, like, oh, you're being reported a lot. We don't want people to see your content. Let's give it a bad score.
Definitely.
And it shows on the table that.
Yeah, I mean, it says something in the negatives, doesn't it, about like misinformation, and I mean, like, it'll detect, typical bot type text and things like that, I guess.
Yeah, in the part about repercussions of engagement, every engagement type that you have gives you a score. And I find this super funny, because request to show less often on your tweet, you block or mute you negative points, and it's minus 74. And report your tweet negative minus 369. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not condoning that you should go around doing this, but if there was someone that you really don't want to see, I'll just say that, then you could find a reason to report them and you'd be a lot less likely to see them.
Yeah.
But if you're going falsely reporting, you'll probably get the negative repercussions.
The negative,
absolutely.
yeah.
So don't do that.
I can tell you that that's probably right. Without saying too much, now that you mention it, that's probably what's going to happen. If I were to like report you, like let's pretend that I go to your falsely report your like latest 5 tweets, and after the investigation, they see, okay, this was falsely report. It's likely that would fall on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try it. Well, try it, but on someone else, so I'm not affected.
Yeah. I will use the Photomode UNPLUGGED account.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's doomed anyway. So.
By the way, PM Unplug on Twitter and Instagram. So leave a subscribe, like our posts.
Nice.
Follow us.
Excellent.
Do the things.
The other negatives.
Don't report us.
Don't report us. For God's sake, don't report us. Just because he works at Twitter, that doesn't. So the other negatives, and I thought one of them was really interesting, was unknown words are considered an unknown language, and it gives an overall rank of 0.05 or a ranking multiplier of 0.05. So that's essentially like minus 20 if you 0.05%. So,
but I'm curious about that and video games.
Yeah,
like there are some like really weird words in video games.
Yeah, just locations in games might be nonsense. Character names, even game titles themselves, they're always like spelt weird and what the hell?
Oxenfree.
Yeah, I mean maybe it should learn things that do exist as a title. I don't know. Misinformation, offensive language. Fair enough, you know. Like you said, requests not to show. Interaction with low quality accounts. So if you get a spam bot replying to you, just ignore it. Don't interact with it at all. And then multiple hashtags. So the factor for multiple hashtags, it doesn't say what a multiple is, but, you know, many hashtags. More than one, I don't know.
Multiple.
0.6.
Yeah.
So that's like 40% reduction. Not good. And the one that I've saved till last, because I've always known it and it has always annoyed me, is external links.
Yeah. That one. How do you know? How did you suspect?
Well, I've always felt it because obviously I've got the blog, so I post blog posts, blog links on a regular basis. And at whatever period, however my account was behaving at the time, the blog posts or the tweets with the blog links in them, I should say, always performed worse than my other tweets about the same game or that I've just done the same day or the same time or whatever. It was always a trend.
Do you feel that even if a big account would share your links, like if they share a post with a link on it, do you feel like that engagement is lessened?
I feel that a big share like that obviously helps it a lot, and it can definitely still make it a really successful post. But is it less interaction than it will be with no link? I think so. The biggest interactions I've ever had have never been on a post with a link in it.
With a link in it, yeah. I wonder how news websites have.
Well, it says in the code somewhere. There's a little line. I've got it somewhere. Let me just check, so I don't have to search it.
About the brackets that people
the comment underneath one. Yeah. And it says contains non-media and non-news link, definite spam vector. So 2 things to take away from that is external links that it doesn't understand, it treats as spam and suppresses them. And non-media, non-news means it does recognize media and news links. So I think the big proper news outlets are probably given an exemption, I guess.
Yeah, that makes me wonder. Like, I felt that too after I started streaming. Like, my interactions have plummeted. Even on the posts that I don't put a link on, because that's the other thing about them putting your account on clusters. So I am going to try, because I just stopped streaming Jedi Fallen Order and I finished that game. So for the next game, I'm going to go with the link in bio
Okay.
strategy to see if my engagement.
Yeah, that's okay. I think for my side, like when it's a specific post, it doesn't work like that. But
It doesn't
for a streaming
work,
channel, I think that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
Because, you just go to your channel, and if you're live, you're live. And if not, then you can see your older videos. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
It's probably a good idea.
But yours is, it's a tricky one. But even considering that you have an handicap, you did well for yourself.
I think it shows that the content itself, if you target the right audience, and like a lot of the time it is trying to get the attention of the studio and the publisher as well as the people. I'm providing useful information, but I want the studio really to see it, and it does work, so you've got to push through. It can be a bit demoralizing, but yeah, it's understandable. You go back to that quote that I said, that the algorithm's job is to keep you on the app. An external link is the absolute epitome of getting you off the app. So it's understandable. It's interesting to see what happens when you pay to promote that, how much you're still penalised, because they're then charging you and probably still penalising you. I've never tried it, so I don't intend to.
And it's one of the most expensive social media platforms to advertise them.
Yeah. Oh, did you see how much the Twitter verified organizations thing is? So there's the
1,000
gold
per
tier.
month. Yeah.
That is 1,150. I was like, wow. Yeah. Anyway, right. So the second.
Are you not going to subscribe?
No, not right now. No.
Okay.
Maybe next month.
I wonder why.
So that was all about whether your tweet is picked straight away to appear in someone's feed. The second round of scoring, now it doesn't say exactly what this is, but I interpret it as how many times that tweet is sort of persists during its lifetime. So like positive interactions keep it up and negative interactions drop it down. I think, once it's been picked in the list, things keep it up. So we've just said that likes were the most important there, and then retweets and then comments. This is now kind of the reverse of that. So a like now just gives a score of 0.5. And this makes sense, because if something, likes are the biggest number, they're the most interactions, right? So if that was important still, just getting likes would keep something at the top perpetually, and you wouldn't be able to get rid of it. So likes is now 0.5. A retweet is 1, so twice as important as a like. And that makes sense. So someone retweeting it puts it up to be shown again. I understand.
And that also makes sense, because otherwise you would be constantly retweeting your tweets.
What if it was too powerful? Yeah. We'll mention after as well. There's also there's a timeline. There's a time limit for things, which is good to know. The next one down, and this is a weird one. I don't know exactly where it's come from, but it says an interaction with the post of more than 2 minutes. I mean, 2 minutes is a long time to spend on one post.
Even if you are like opening 4 shots and looking at the minutes. 4, 2 minutes is a long time.
I bet very few people spend 2 minutes on a single post, especially in virtual photography when they're just scanning through pictures. But that gives us a score of 11 versus 0.5, so 22 times more than a like by spending some time on it. A score of 12 for any profile interaction, so I guess clicking on your profile and
the profile,
which is good. And then we come to replies, which is a score of 27. So if you get replies, that keeps your post alive for longer.
No.
And I definitely agree with that, because that is the approach I took with the awards, and those awards posts do well, because once they start getting the replies, and same with yours, with the thing at the weekend of showing your pictures.
show me your pictures.
Yeah. So and then replies that you then reply to.
Yeah.
Score of 75.
Yeah.
So moral of the story: reply to your replies. Don't ignore them. A mistake I've often made is that I've thought, I've got some replies. I'll reply to a couple now and I'll save the rest for later. And that'll sort of boost it again later. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Because I'm lazy, I've been doing I will do 3 posts every day, and at the end of the day reply to everyone.
Yeah.
And since I've been doing that, I definitely felt the engagement on my posts decreasing. So that was one that was good to know.
Yeah. The reason why will probably be this tweet lifetime. So I know you mentioned like a real world lifetime of 23 minutes.
Yeah, it's around 23 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And for each interaction that you get like a extension of it. I see it as like a time trial game that you pick up something and...
Yeah, like Outrun.
Yeah.
So the actual tweets have a half-life of 360 minutes or 6 hours. So what that means is after 6 hours, those scores that it gets, so 27 points for getting a reply, it gets half that the next time. So a like is 0.5 to begin with, it'll become 0.25. And after 12 hours, it'll become 0.125. So in theory, that means that its first 6 hours are the best it can ever perform. The real world time being less than that, I guess, is just because it's also fighting against the influx of everything else. So it just becomes overwhelmed, I suppose. But yeah, does knowing any of this change your approach to using your Twitter account for virtual photography?
It tells me that I was doing things right a few months ago, and I started doing them wrong now. That's basically it. It basically tells me that every experience that I've done since the beginning of the year is wrong.
So links was one of them, was it?
Links being one of them. Replying less is another.
Yeah.
Or replying to them. Like sometimes I see the people leaving the comment, and I'm going to do what you did. Like I will give you a second life by replying to them. I spend a lot less time on Twitter, so that means that the algorithm is probably saying, you're not spending enough time here.
That was an interesting one. That it may occur somewhere else in the algorithm, but it isn't covered in the stuff that I've read. Because I've always thought that, because my time on it isn't great. I post my stuff and I interact with the interactions or the replies, but my time spent going and sort of searching for other content is quite low, and I've always wondered whether that counts against you.
But the thing is, if you spend more time on Twitter, in theory, you are engaging with more posts.
Yeah.
And if you are engaging with more posts, your name is showing more often on people that are following. Like, .pon liked this post, .pon retweet that post, and that will keep people like, if they like something that I retweeted, that like counts as
that's the like,
exactly, not from the post, but it counts to me. So that means that they are like giving me the engagement, and that will make them see more of me. Like accounts that you interact with, are more likely to show on your feed, so it's more likely that they see my name more often if I spend more time on Twitter.
I agree. I'm laughing there because you'd frozen, so I may in the recording just be talking over you. So
Oh,
I'll just mute. If you're still talking, I'll mute mine and I'll just be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But yeah, it's kind of that knock-on effect, isn't it? If you interact with, even if you reply to someone and then they see you, they then reply to you, which means they're more likely to see your content again in the future. So
that's how I got so many devs to follow me.
Yeah.
I would like go on their post, say something, they would reply to me, and then I would show up on the For You page.
Yep. I know.
I'm very good at my job. At Twitter.
But yes. Until you stopped doing it.
Yeah.
So did you change your approach because you were fired from Twitter?
No, because I was tired.
Yeah.
It takes a lot.
Yeah.
And we have said this to one another before. Like, I respect a lot of what you do, like with your website. I know it takes a lot of time to do the quality of content that you put out. And you told me that if you ever were to hire a social media manager, I was the first on the list, because you know the dedication that I put on
Absolutely.
knowing these things. And it takes a lot of my free time. Like knowing this stuff, knowing when to post, who to tag, who to interact with, who to spam.
Yeah.
And I was just tired. After 4 years of doing it,
Yeah.
I was just like, not worth it.
Wears you down.
Yeah.
See, I already knew that I couldn't have ever done that, which is why I never did. But this is why I hope that some of this helps you understand, the viewers and listeners, understand why posts do and do not get seen. And, why you may think that doesn't deserve, this is not good enough. It doesn't matter. It's all about how they've played the social media game. That is really what it comes down to. And yeah, and when I was saying that to you, I could tell that your game is the social media.
Yeah.
And you've got to respect that. Like, you can't be bothered that someone is getting more interactions when they're putting in the effort to generate those interactions. That's what you've always done. And it is easy to just look at things and go, and be jealous of it, essentially, because people want the same thing. But it's not because of the content is better or worse. It's because of your manipulation, in a way, of the algorithm.
Yeah, and
fair enough.
And we've seen people that don't play the social media game do very well for themselves. So neither way to do things is like the perfect way. It's just my way and their way and your way. And it's like we are all trying. If we didn't care about the likes, the engagement, we would have a blog and post on that blog and hope that the internet will find that.
That's what I do.
Yeah, but you put your content out. You bring people to your website. You want your things to be seen. Like, it's not to say that the quality of content isn't good if you get less or more likes. Like, I always found that the striving artist, the struggling artist, it's like, oh, he's underrated and underappreciated and it's struggling, but the real art is it. Yeah, but there are super popular artists that deserve to be super popular, like Dot Pun.
I don't know that one.
You should Google it.
Okay, I will do. You probably did some really good interviews with a really cool guy at some point, I think.
Yeah.
In those, that's when I always said likes don't matter. I still kind of stick to that, because what I mean in context of the content, likes don't matter as a judge of your work. They don't.
Yeah.
likes evidently from the algorithm do matter as to whether people see your next lot of work. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. That's social media. So there you go.
But it's the platform that we choose to.
For now,
yeah. For now. Oof.
So on that bombshell, let's end it.
Yep. See ya.